Is Keon Coleman a raw wide receiver that just wins with pure physicality, isn't very good at separating, and really isn't a complete wide receiver? Or are those potential pre draft issues starting to get corrected? By the end of this video, you're going to see as to whether Keon Coleman is starting to develop into the wide receiver that he had the potential to be, or if he's still just this raw wide receiver that can really only win with physicality and that he's connected to Josh Allen. Throughout the entire offseason process, the analytical community was really low on Keon Coleman. He didn't really separate. We didn't think he was going to be the best athlete. And the film community was a little bit higher on him, but there were still plenty of red flags. Well, the combine really didn't help that, to be honest with you. There was a ton of concern after he ran a 4.61 40-yard dash. That's only 27th percentile. But when you contextualize that with him being just about 6'4" and over 210 pounds, that does give him a 62nd percentile speed score. That's height and weight adjusted speed. So that is above average for his size. And his burst score in the 82nd percentile is thoroughly impressive as well. He didn't do any agility drills. He's a little bit more of a straight line athlete. He's not really a shifty stop-start kind of guy. And he also only had a 9.97 catch radius, which is 44th percentile. And so overall, this profile screams, for the most part, a linear athlete. The Bills were saying that they were going to use him as an X wide receiver, and because he in general doesn't have the best speed, and then he wasn't really getting much separation, that did not sound good. And then when we look at his utilization, they did follow through on that. He's played 94.2% of his snaps out wide, as opposed to only 5.8% in the slot. But when we look at the results, I'm actually pretty impressed. His 2.00 yards per out run is good for 26th in the entire NFL. That is awesome. When we look at his PFF receiving grade, his 70.4 is good for 42nd. When you think about that he was supposed to be this really raw wide receiver, that's really not that bad either. But look at his yards after catch per reception. 10.3 is second in the entire NFL. You're going to see that in action on some of the film we're going to be reviewing later. He is very good after the catch. Looking at his missed tackles forced, his 4 is good for 24th. His 3 contested catches are good for 39th. His targets of 27 is, though, only good for 61st in the NFL. His 16 receptions are only good for 66th. His yards, however, of 326 is good for 30th. And so that means that he is making the most out of the receptions that he is getting. And his 2 touchdowns rank 31st. And so overall, the targets, receptions, and touchdowns aren't really going to blow your socks off. But when you think about how little he's been targeted, he's actually done very, very well for himself. Looking at his target separation, his 1.05 yards is good for 87th. And so that concern in general has followed him from college to the NFL. But I'm going to show you some things that he's doing to offset that natural lack of stop-start agility, and is going to allow him to win at the NFL level consistently, especially as he matures as a route runner. He has gotten a lot better in that regard. The Bills just traded for Amari Cooper, and so this could just be one game here. Amari Cooper wasn't completely familiar with the playbook, but Keon Coleman did tie for the lead in targets for the team with Khalil Shakir. But as far as the yardage, he by far made the most of his opportunities. He had 4 receptions for 125 receiving yards. He didn't score a touchdown, although he almost had one on, I'll show you later, very, very good play though, and along a 57. And so we'll have to see what his utilization looks like as Amari Cooper starts to grow in this offense. I do think that this could open up some opportunities for him though. Just having another really good wide receiver on the field, I think that is going to help him. And I really think that Amari Cooper is going to be able to help him out with some of his route running. I think that's going to be very good for him long term. When we look at his target share through the first 7 weeks, his 14.8% is only good for 67th. And so that isn't really the utilization we would have liked to have seen, considering kind of the barren nature of their wide receiver room. And his 15.2 target rate is good for 85th. And so usually good wide receivers earn targets at a high rate, especially when the receiving room is rather inadequate in terms of total talent, at least comparatively to the rest of the NFL. I will say though, the numbers don't look quite as good for Keon Coleman as what I see from him on film. On film, he is really, really growing. And even though he hasn't had the most opportunity, when he has been given the opportunities, he is absolutely making the most of them. All right, here we have Keon Coleman at the bottom of your screen. He is going to take an inside release before working back out for an out route. Josh Allen's going to begin in the pocket here, but he's going to get some pressure, so he rolls out and scrambles this way. Keon Coleman's going to notice that he's in trouble, and so he's going to work his way upfield and scramble drill to try to get open. The Titans are going to be in cover 4, so you have 2 deep safeties here, deep corner and deep corner. It's going to look as though it's man coverage, but if you look at the top of your screen, you're going to see that it is cover 4 indeed. And so we're going to take a look to see his instincts when he's not open to make himself available for Josh Allen. And then we're going to see if he can get separation when it matters most. And so right away, he takes the inside release. This is very, very physical coverage by Jarvis Brownlee. And so he isn't really able to separate off of his cut. At this point, Josh Allen is scrambling, and so he notices this, and so he intelligently works his way upfield. And at this current moment, he isn't open. Josh Allen is letting this go. But at the very last second, he does push off to make sure that he does get some separation. It's just that the pass was out of bounds, and so there really wasn't anything for him to do. And so while at first on his intended route, he didn't win, it was very physical coverage, he did notice that Allen was in trouble and did everything that he could to make himself an available target. And if the pass would have been in bounds, he was going to have enough separation at the end to really haul that in. And so overall, he didn't win initially, but if he wasn't going to win, at least he made himself an available target. Here we have Keon at the bottom of your screen. He's going to be running a deep curl route, so he's going to run deep downfield, stop on a dime, and turn to face his quarterback. The Titans are going to be in cover 3, so you have deep third defender here and deep third defender here. I've spoken about his lack of nuance in his route running. This is actually a very good display of nuance during his route running. And so let's take a look, and I'll explain as he goes. He faces off coverage here. And so what you're going to see is he's going to purposefully work his way into the blind spot of this cornerback, and he's going to make him flip his hips. But as soon as he does that, he works back inside, stops on a dime, gets instant separation, then works his way back to the football to make sure there's no way there's a pass deflection, and then gets down to secure the pass. Very, very savvy by Keon Coleman. This guy is really, really smart. For what he lacks in stop-start abilities, such as the ability that Malik Neighbors possesses in that regard, he's making me eat my words because that was very, very crafty work there. Works his way into his blind spot again, makes him flip his hips, settles down, comes to the football, gets down. Very good play by Keon Coleman. All right, here the Bills are running a pick play. You're going to have Dawson Knox purposefully make his way right in front of the cornerback. You're going to have Keon Coleman, who's at the top of your screen here. He's going to run a very slow release before working his way underneath the pick. The Titans are going to be running cover 1 blitz here. And so you're going to have a deep safety here, but you're going to have man across the board. Ideally, if the pass protection holds up, or if there's enough blockers really in this case, this is going to be the perfect play call. However, this linebacker is going to blitz directly up the A-gap, and there is going to be no one there to block him. And so it's going to speed up the pass and turn this into an incompletion. Here, Keon Coleman is really going to need to know that he needs to be ready for the ball immediately. He's not ready for the pass, and so he's going to end up getting one hand on it and leaving it in the air. The Bills are very, very fortunate here that this isn't picked off, but let's take a look. All right, as you can see, There is no one for this linebacker. He has a free shot at Josh Allen. Keon Coleman is slow playing this release, and Dawson Knox is getting right in the way. And so at this point in time, Josh Allen realizes that the pressure's coming, so he already has to get rid of the ball. Keon Coleman isn't even out of his break yet, so he has no idea the pass is coming. And so he's making his break. This is where he notices the ball's coming. He gets one hand on it, and it gets left in the air. He is very fortunate that this cornerback here wasn't in the area. That could have easily been pick sixed. And this is just a simple example of what can happen when the timing of a play is disrupted. Dangerous things can happen. Let's take a look in real time. Immediate pressure up the A-gap. Keon is not ready. He gets one hand on it, leaves it up in the air. Very fortunate for the Bills that this isn't pick sixed. I want to cut Keon Coleman a break here because it was due to the timing of the play being disrupted that this didn't work out. But at the same time, man, you really have to be ready for the ball, especially when they're blitzing. So I won't fault him in the sense of the timing of the play was disrupted. There was immediate pressure. Allen had to get rid of the ball immediately. But at the same time, if you're in the NFL, you have to be ready for the football, and you seriously cannot leave that in the air. If you like what you're hearing and seeing so far, feel free to like and subscribe. It's a free and easy way to support this channel. I love doing these player film breakdowns, profiles, usage, advanced stats, getting a good detailed overview as to what makes a wide receiver and then how they're performing on the field and what we can conclude. And so if you want to see more content like this, just like and subscribe. Thanks. On this play, we have an almost touchdown from Keon Coleman. He's going to be running a fade route towards the front pylon. The Titans are going to be in cover one man, so you have a deep safety here and man throughout. And so Brownlee versus Coleman is the matchup once again. It's a really good ball from Josh Allen. On this play, Keon Coleman is very, very crafty. He is starting to show a lot of the nuance that I really wasn't seeing from him in college already. I can tell he's worked a ton on his route running. You're going to see a subtle jab to just keep space between him and the defender to allow the ball to come into his back shoulder. You're going to see body control. He just isn't quite able to stay in bounds and secure the catch. But overall, this is very encouraging to see. And one thing I must say is that before the draft, we were all pretty sure that he was going to be a serious threat in the red zone. And so that part of his game is absolutely as advertised. And so he gets his hand in the defender's chest to make sure that he has just that little bit of separation for Allen to fit the ball in. Snags it, turns around to keep the ball away from the cornerback. He just isn't quite able to keep his feet in bounds, and so it does end up being incomplete, but very good body control, and I love the subtle jab to make sure that there's space. Let's take a look in real time. Very, very good body control. Almost a touchdown, but very encouraging to see. We are going to see a ton of this between him and Josh Allen for years to come. Here we have, in my opinion, the most impressive play of the day from Keon Coleman, and there were multiple impressive plays. He's going to be running a quick slant. The Titans are going to be in cover one man, and so this is supposed to be a deep safety. However, he's going to encroach towards the line of scrimmage, and that is going to work against him in this case. You're going to have a press man coverage here from the cornerback. Keon is going to find himself immediately open. He's going to shed a tackle, twist inside. He's going to stumble, but he recovers. He has very, very good awareness of where players are around him. And so he's going to twist towards the end to try to maximize yardage. And he is quite successful in that regard. And so while he doesn't have the breakaway speed that some might like from wide receivers, he is very crafty and aware of what's around him. So he is making the most out of what he can do. Let's take a look. So as soon as the ball is hiked, Josh Allen is immediately going to target him. So Allen gets squared up, is already releasing the ball. Keon has a good amount of separation already, hits him right in the numbers. And so he twists and shakes off that tackle. And because the safety was encroaching towards the line of scrimmage, now he's out of position too. He stumbles but recovers, but then he can feel the player coming from his right behind him. And so he twists to the left and gets every little bit of yardage after the catch possible. He is very good after the catch. I must say, the sky is the limit for him because the things that you can't teach, such as being almost 6'4", being that physical in the red zone, he already possesses those, and he is getting so much better at his route running already. And he has very good awareness. You can't just teach awareness as well. I cannot understate how intelligent he is. So let's take a look in real time. Immediately gets separation, twists off the tackle, recovers. He can feel the guy coming from behind, so he twists to the left, maximizes yardage. Very good play. And that indeed is a first down. This was, in my opinion, the most impressive play of the day. This guy is going to be a star. On the final play we're going to take a look at here, Keon's at the top of your screen. The Bills are going to be running a levels concept. And so Dawson Knox is going to be running a deep out while Keon runs a shallow cross underneath. The Titans are going to be in cover 1. And so you have a deep safety here that's going to be occupied by the deep out route by Knox. You're going to have man coverage here from this cornerback. And so we've seen so far that Keon has easily been able to win with physicality. We knew that pre-draft, and it's been confirmed on tape. We've seen that he's also won with craftiness in terms of making sure he's in the blind spot on that deep curl. On this one, he's just going to be fast enough to win. And so that is nice to see because obviously overt speed isn't his strength, but on this one, he just has enough to get it done. And that's honestly all you can ask for from him. And so I'm pretty impressed. All right, so Dawson Knox here is going to take the linebacker and the deep safety and occupy that. You're going to have Keon Coleman running free underneath. Allen is running out of the pocket. Hits him in stride. Perfect pass. Not really anything after the catch, but very good to see that he, in this case, had just enough speed to make it work. And so while that may not work against all cornerbacks, in this case, it did. And so it's nice to see that he can win with physicality, intelligence, and in this case, by just simply being a good enough athlete to make it work. Before the draft, a lot of the analytical community was completely out on Keon Coleman. Some of the film community was a little bit higher on him than the analytical community, at least, but there were definitely red flags there. He really wasn't separating and was winning with just overt physicality. And so some people were worried that that wouldn't translate at the NFL level. I admittedly didn't think he was going to be very good in terms of how they were going to utilize him. I still think he would be better used as a big slot, so he doesn't have to win on the outside. But I can admit when I'm wrong. He has looked a lot better on the outside as an X wide receiver than I would have ever imagined in his rookie season. He is so much more improved in his route running than what he showed in college. He's showing a crafty side to stay in blind spots. He's working his way back to the football. He's very, very tough after the catch, and he has a very good feel for the players around him on the field to maximize yards after the catch. And so I've been nothing but impressed with Keon Coleman. We will have to see how Amari Cooper being there affects his usage. There is an opportunity potentially for him to find himself in the slot a little bit more with Amari Cooper because Amari Cooper is easily able to be an X wide receiver. And so I think the potential for him not only to be moved around the field a little bit more, but also to learn a little bit more of the route running nuance from Amari Cooper, who's one of the best in the NFL, is going to be nothing but good for him in the future, even if it might come at the expense of target share in the immediate future. And so, like I said, I was very wrong about him. I was very worried about him being an X wide receiver because he wasn't really separating. But I think a lot of the reason why he is succeeding is that first of all, he has Josh Allen, who's able to put the football where he wants when he wants for the most part. And so obviously that's going to help out any wide receiver. But he has shown so much growth in his route running that really all of the fears that I had are completely gone. He definitely isn't where he needs to be yet to be a complete wide receiver, but he has a solid base to work off of, just being over 6'3", over 210 pounds, being very physical. He has just enough speed, it looks like, to get it done. And so in conclusion, I've been thoroughly impressed with Keon Coleman so far. He's worked on basically all of the issues. He isn't getting the most separation, but it hasn't really mattered. He's still winning at the NFL level, and he's been thoroughly efficient with the minimal volume in which he's gotten, especially after the catch. I think he is going to blossom into a complete wide receiver, and I think that because he's connected to Josh Allen, we haven't seen anything remotely close to what we're going to end up seeing from Keon Coleman. This guy will be a stud.